to have my Viva, water but so much better. Got to have my Viva, water but so much better.
Viva sparkling flavored water. Water but better.
High blood pressure is as dangerous as an overpumped balloon. Measuring your blood pressure every day can save you from risk of high blood pressure. MicroLife fully automatic upper arm blood pressure monitor with stroke risk detection. MicroLife AFib screens for atrial fibrillation while taking your blood pressure. High blood pressure and atrial fibrillation are both considered controllable risk factors for stroke. If AFib is present during blood pressure measurement, the AFib icon is displayed flashing at the end of the triple measurement. Once 3 measurements are complete, the measurement data are shown on the display. MicroLife, a partner for people, for life.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome to C Results. I'm Miss Nyla and you are joining me today for English Language Arts and Creative Writing. Welcome guys, and those of you of course joining us on our live stream on Facebook via the C Results page or the IBN TV 8 page. I hope you are having a wonderful day. So we are going to get ready to start on our work. So yesterday we were able to complete a couple of tasks, but we were left with a poem, so that's where we're going to be starting off today. We're going to go to our poem, and then we're going to start another paper again. So as usual, or as we usually do, we're going to read the poem together, analyze it, and then I'm going to take some calls. I probably will take a call for a student to assist me to analyze this poem, so ensure that you pay close attention. Right? So let's go ahead. Since Hannah Moved Away by Judith Viost. Since Hannah moved away, the tires on my bike are flat. The sky is grouchy gray. At least it sure feels that way since Hannah went away. Chocolate ice cream tastes like prunes. December's come to stay. They've taken back the Mays and Junes since Hannah moved away. Flowers smell like halibut. Velvet feels like hay. Every handsome dog's a mutt since Hannah moved away. Nothing's fun to laugh about. Nothing's fun to play. They call me, but I won't come out since Hannah moved away. So what I will do, I will open the line and I will take a call. Maybe someone can help me analyze paragraph or stanza by stanza. And we do have a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to C Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Regan.
Okay, nice to have you with us, Regan. So help me analyze stanza by stanza. So what you will do, you will read it, and then you will explain to me what it means, right? And I will help you along the way if you are having some difficulty.
So explain what each stanza means.
Correct.
Okay. Since Hannah moved away. Okay. Since Hannah moved away, the tires on my bike are flat. The sky is grouchy gray. At least it sure feels like that since Hannah went away. Chocolate ice cream tastes like prunes. December's come to stay. They've taken back the Marys and Junes, the Mays and Junes since Hannah moved away.
Okay, pause right there, Regan. So we're going back to the first stanza, and explain to me, what is the first stanza telling us?
That the first stanza telling us that everything was just gloomy and sad since Hannah moved away.
Right. And go on with chocolate and ice cream. So what is he saying here? What is he going on to say?
That the summer vacation was never feeling the same way without Hannah.
Excellent. Move on.
Flowers, you can just go down on that.
Sure. Can we just scroll along there, guys? Great.
Flowers smell like halibut. Velvet feels like hay. Every handsome dog's a mutt since Hannah moved away. Nothing's fun to laugh about. Nothing's fun to play. They call me, but I won't come out since Hannah moved away.
Right.
So the paragraph with the flowers,
Yes.
so that's saying that every living thing doesn't look the same, and it's just not the same way since Hannah went away.
Okay.
And nothing's fun to laugh about, nothing like fun to do anymore, nothing funny anymore since the Hannah person moved away.
Who do you think is Hannah in this poem?
One of the poet's friends.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for your call, Reagan.
No problem, bye.
Okay. Bye. So let's just look at this poem a little closer, right? Let's look at our figurative language and so on. The tires on my bike are flat. The sky is grouchy gray, right? So do you think the tires on his actual bike are actually flat, right? Or it's the figure of speech. The sky is grouchy gray. Here we are seeing alliteration and personification. At least it sure feels that way since Hannah moved away, right? So the person, a poet, is feeling this way because probably his friend, right, or somebody very close to him or close to her, moved away. Is no longer living, where he can see her each and every day. Chocolate ice cream tastes like prunes. Decembers come to stay. They've taken back the Mays and Junes since Hannah moved away. So the first line here, we have a simile. Chocolate ice cream tastes like prunes. Right, so prunes is, he's comparing chocolate ice cream, which we usually love, very tasty, to something that may not be as tasty, right, and very different, of course. They've taken back the Mays and Junes. That's a metaphor, right? Flowers smell like halibut. That's another simile there. And I want you to pay attention to this word halibut. Velvet feels like hay. Simile again. Every handsome dog's a mutt. Metaphor. Since Hannah moved away. Nothing's fun to laugh about. So they said absolutely nothing, despite, anything that you possibly think about, any fun activity or something that we do actually consider fun, he no longer feels that way. Nothing's fun to play, so no games, right? They call me, but I won't come out. Who is calling the poet here? Who do you think, right? Since Hannah moved away. So we have looked at this poem very closely, and I hope that you did pay attention to the use of figurative language throughout the poem. And speaking on figurative language for creative writing today, we may be touching on that a little bit. So, if you're having a little bit of difficulty understanding figurative language as well as using figurative language in your writing narrative specifically, make sure you stay tuned for creative writing later on today, guys. So moving back to the poem, let's go to the first question. Once again, the lines are open. What is the mood of the poem? Write a line from the poem that is used to create this mood. All right, we have a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, welcome to See Results. You are live with us. Can you hear me, caller?
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Andy Ann.
Nice to have you with us, Andy Ann. So, go ahead with number 29.
Right. What is the mood of the poem? Write a line from the poem that is used to create this mood.
Right, so I'm just going to go back to the poem for you. Take your time.
They could zoom up on the
If you need us to scroll down, you can just see.
The mood of the poem is sad.
Right, okay, give us a line to support that.
The sky is grungy gray.
Excellent, Andy, and thanks for your call.
You must welcome.
Right, so the mood is sad, depressed, melancholy. Any of those synonyms will work. Write a line from the poem that is used to create this mood. Nothing's fun to laugh about or nothing's fun to play. The tires on my bike are flat. And any other similar lines that supports your mood or the mood given. All right, let's take another call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Jaden.
Okay, Jaden, welcome. Go ahead with number 30.
What do you think is the relationship between Hannah and the poet? Support your answer with evidence from the poem.
Okay, take your time. Skim it through. What do you think is the relationship between Hannah and the poet? Are you there, Jaden?
Yes, miss.
Okay.
I think they are siblings.
Siblings, okay. Which line will you use to support that answer? Are you there, Jaden?
Yes, miss.
Okay. Give me a line to support that answer. Which line do you think? Why do you say they are siblings?
The fifth line?
Can you repeat that?
The fifth line.
The first line?
The fourth.
Fourth line. Read that for me.
At least it sure feels like that.
All right. No problem, Jaden. Thanks for calling. Right?
Welcome.
So possibly they can be siblings. We are not sure. But most likely, I think that they were friends. Because he kept saying, or she kept saying throughout, repeating, since Hannah moved away. The poet does not enjoy anything. Right? So any other line there will support that answer, showing the relationship between the poet and Hannah. Even if you did say siblings, as long as you give a justification or supporting detail, your answer will still be correct, guys. Right, 3 similes from the poem. Right, so this one should be easy. We did identify them a little while ago. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, afternoon.
Hi, good evening. Who am I speaking with?
Regan again.
Okay, Regan, go ahead with number 31.
Write 3 similes from the poem. You can just, all right, thank you.
Sure.
Okay, so I found one which is chocolate ice cream, tastes like prunes.
Go ahead.
The other is flowers smell like halibut.
Uh-huh.
And hold on, I'm trying to find the last one.
Take
And
your
velvet
time.
feels like hay.
Excellent. Thanks for calling again, Regan.
You're welcome, bye.
Right, guys, so we know that a simile is a comparison between two unlike things, using like or as. Chocolate ice cream tastes like prunes, flowers smell like halibut, velvet feels like hay. Let's take another call. Good evening, welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening.
Hello?
Caller. Hi, welcome.
Hello?
You are live on See Results. Who am I speaking with?
Nikolai.
Hi, Nikolai, nice to have you with us. Would you read number 32 for us?
Can you zoom in, please?
Sure.
What is the meaning of the word grouchy line 2 as used in the poem?
Right, so I'm going to go to the poem there for you. Actually, it's on the third line here. Right, the sky is grouchy gray.
The sky is grouchy gray, but the grouchy means that it's like mad.
Right. So, mad or any other synonym that goes with that, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so much for calling. Right, so grouchy means unpleasant, mad, angry, any of those will work, guys. Right, that was an easy 1 mark. What is the meaning of the word? Actually, this is the same question. I'm going to move on. How do you think halibut smells? Give a reason for your answer. Right, let's take a call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
This is Eden.
Hi, Aidan. So,
Hi.
can you read number 33 for me?
Okay. How do you think halibut smells? Give a reason for your answer.
First of all, do you know what is halibut?
No.
Okay, so halibut is a type. Okay, you know what? I'm going to actually wait for your answer, and then I'll tell you, okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So, flowers smell like halibut.
It smells like fern.
So I have a question for you, right? Since
Yes.
this is a simile, flowers smell like halibut, and we know that similes are comparisons between two unlike things, right? How do flowers usually smell?
Sweet. So,
Sweet, right? So
So
halibut would...
this will smell like fish?
Very good. Did you just Google that?
No.
All right, well, excellent, right? Halibut is a type of flatfish, right?
Oh.
So thank you so much for calling. Right, guys, and that's an easy way to answer that question. You know that this is a simile here, an example of a simile, and you know what a simile is, so you can infer the meaning just from that.
Okay.
Thank you for calling.
Yeah,
I think it smells terrible because the poet is saying flowers smell like halibut when really flowers are sweet smelling because he or she misses his or her friend, right? So probably if you said terrible, something smelled terrible or really bad, anything along those lines will actually work. Let's take another call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Javen.
Hi, Javen. Go ahead with number 34.
Okay, you can zoom in, please.
Sure. Can you see it now, Javen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, read that question for me.
Aloud?
Yes, please.
Okay. State one sense to which the poem appeals and write a line from the poem to support your answer.
Good. I'm going to go to the poem for you.
Okay. Okay, so one sense is the sense of smell.
Right. And which line there will support that answer?
The line will be line 10, which states flowers smell like halibut.
Thank you, Javen, for calling. Before you go, do you recognize any other senses that explained in the poem or given in the poem? Or that
The
appeals
sense
to you?
of touch, and that would be the next line where it says velvet feels like hay.
Excellent, Javen. Thanks for calling.
Okay, miss.
Right, guys. So we have a couple here actually. Smell, example, flowers smell like halibut. Or touch, velvet feels like hay. Taste, chocolate ice cream tastes like flowers. And sight, actually this was with prunes. And sight, the sky is grouchy gray. Right, so we had a couple examples you could have given there. And number 35, good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, welcome.
Hi. Number 35.
This is Nicholas, right?
Which one do you think is the poet's least favorite one? Give a reason for your answer.
Is this Nicholas?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Nicholas, great to have you with us.
Yes.
Right, so which one do you think is the poet's least favorite?
Can you go back to the poem, please?
Sure.
I think the poet's least favorite month is December.
All
because
right.
because he comes to stay.
Okay. All right, Nicholas, thank you for calling.
Okay, you're
right,
welcome.
so I think that December is the poet's least favorite because the poet thinks everything is terrible and she says December comes to stay, right? Whereas the taken back what, you know, that which she have preferred, which is actually May's and June's. Number 36. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome back. So go ahead and read number 36 for us, Jaden.
Why do you think they refer to, who do you think they refer to in line 17? Why do you think they call the poet?
All right, so let's take it line by line. Who do you think they refer to in line 17? So can you read line 17 for me?
They call me, but I won't come out.
Right. And who do you think they're referring to?
The poet's friend?
Okay, so they call me, but I won't come out. That line is actually referring to who? To whom?
Hannah's friend.
Right. Hannah's friend, which is actually the poet in this case, right? And
Yes,
the next
ma'am.
part, why do you think they call the poet? Why are they calling her out to play?
Because since her friend gone, they might think she's bored and she will want somebody to play it.
Yes, that can work. Thank you for calling.
Right.
Right? And also because I think they refer to the poet's friend, and also they call the poet out to play. Right? Why do you think they call the poets? Actually, they call the poets out to play because, you know, she might be lonely, she miss her friend, they want her life to go on, right? Have some fun. How does the poet feel? Do you think he or she has a right to feel this way?
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Aidan again.
Okay, Aidan, go ahead with number 37.
Okay. You could go back to the poem.
Sure.
Okay, the poet feels depressed,
Right.
and the poet has a right to feel this way because the poet best friend has moved away somewhere else.
Excellent. Right, great job. Thank you for calling again.
Yeah.
Right, so I think the poet feels sad or depressed. Yes, so she has a right to feel this way as his or her best friend moved away. And our final question for this poem, what advice would you give to the poet to deal with this situation? Good evening, welcome to See Results.
It's Iran.
Nice to have you with us. So go ahead with number 38.
What advice would you give the poet to deal with this situation?
Right, and let me ask you, what is the situation they're talking about here?
Sadness. How Hannah leave her best friend?
Right, so what advice will you give Hannah's friend?
Try to make new friends.
Try to make new friends. That's great advice. Right, thanks for calling. Right, I will advise the poet to not be sad because he or she can still enjoy friendship through social media. That's with Hannah, of course. And he or she has lots of other friends she can play with. She can even visit Hannah sometimes. Right, so you don't need to be extremely sad about it. Okay, guys, so that brings us to the end of that poem, and we're actually going to move on to our other paper, which starts with spelling. All right, so once again, we're going to read this task, and then I'm going to open the lines and take some calls. The lemur is a mammal that lives in Africa. There are 25 species of lemurs, and all of them are endangered. Lemurs are mostly vegetarians. They like wild figs and bananas, among other forest fruits. Right? So I'm going to open the lines, guys. When you do call, I want you to read the line, identify the error, of course, and give us the correct spelling. And we will zoom in on this. Print is a little bit light today. Right? So we have a call on the line. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Nikolai.
Okay, Nikolai, go ahead and read that first line for me there.
The lemur is a mammal that.
Right.
And you're supposed to underline mammal and put M-A-M-M-A-L.
Correct. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
Okay. Right, let me just mention, this is the spelling task. You know that this task is actually worth 12 marks, one for identifying the incorrectly spelled word in each line, and then one for giving the correct spelling of the word. All right, let's take another call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Andian.
Hi, Andian. Go ahead with line 2.
Lives in Africa. There are 25. There is T-H-E-R-E.
Correct. This there that is given here means what?
Possession.
Great job.
You're welcome, miss.
Okay. Right, and note that it should be written with a capital T because here is the beginning of a sentence, okay? Let's move on to number 3 there. Good evening, welcome to See Results.
Aaron.
Hi, Aaron. Go ahead with line 3.
Line 3 is species.
Right. What is wrong with species?
When it have a C, right, it's supposed to be IES.
Okay, so spell that for me.
SPECIE.
So SP, right, great job. Thank you for calling. So I will explain on this a little bit shortly, don't worry about it. Good evening, welcome to See Results.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Eden.
Okay, Eden, go ahead.
Okay. There are 25 species of lemurs and all of them are endangered.
Right.
Lemurs are mostly. So the word that is spelled wrong is endangered.
Right.
And so endangered is supposed to be an E instead of an I.
Right, so spell it out for me.
ENDANGERED.
Good job, right? Thanks for calling. And guys, just note it's not endangered, it's endangered, okay? EN. All right, number 5, good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome back. Jaden, go ahead with number 5.
Vegetarian, that's spelled incorrectly.
Okay, spell it correctly for me.
VEGETARIANS.
Excellent. Thank you for calling.
Yes, I could do the next one.
All right, no problem.
Yes, among spelled wrong.
Okay, how should among be spelled?
AMONG.
Thank you for calling.
Welcome.
Okay, guys, so let's just take a minute here. Right, the lemur is a mammal, so you know that you have to double your letter when it comes after a vowel. So it's M-A-M-M-A-L. There, this there here shows possession. T-H-E-R-E, location. Right, species, S-P-C-I-E-S. And the rule that the students are talking about here, actually I before E, except after C. Right, this here will prove as an exception. S-P-C-I-E-S. And then endangered is not endangered, but it's actually endangered, right? So ensure that you use the correct suffix there. So it's en, endangered. Moving on, we have vegetarians. So it's VEGETARIANS. And lastly, we have among. Among here is spelled with a U. Among does not actually have a U. It's just simply A-M-O-N-G, right? So that was our spelling task. Now we are moving on to punctuation and capitalization. This task is actually worth 6 marks, just 1 line for inserting the missing capital letter or the missing punctuation letter in this case. All right, so we're going to read it through. One day, 2 girls were walking to school. One of them suddenly shouted, "Look, I see a snake. It is crawling across the road." "What kind do you think it is?" asked the other. "I think it's a coral because of its color." All right, let's take some calls. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, afternoon.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Reagan again.
Okay, Reagan. Go ahead with number 7 there.
Sure. One day, 2 girls were walking to school, so it's supposed to have a comma after D.
Can you repeat that for me?
It's supposed to have a comma after D.
One day, 2 girls were walking to school, and it's supposed to have a comma.
No, full stop by school.
Full stop after the word school. Correct.
Yeah,
Right?
bye.
Okay, bye. Right, so ensure that you just read that properly. Of course, use your second line as a clue to help you there. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Alex.
Okay, Alex, help me with number 8 there.
I think that there should be a comma at the end of that line.
So after which word there?
Shouted.
Excellent. All right, that is correct. Thanks for calling. Moving on to number 9. Good evening.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Iran.
Okay, Aidan, number 9.
It will be look comma, I see a snake.
All right, are you sure it's a comma?
I mean, exclamation mark.
Why is it exclamation mark?
Because they are shouting it.
Very good. Right, thanks for calling again.
Welcome.
Okay, number 10, guys. Good evening, welcome to See Results.
I am Aaron again.
Okay, Aaron, go ahead with number 10. Aaron?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, I can't.
Read the previous line, that will also help you.
Look, I see a snake. It's crawling across the road. What kind do you think?
Right. So what is missing there?
A comma.
A comma where?
After road.
After road, but after road has a full stop. Can you see this full stop here?
Yeah.
Right. So we don't have to put a comma there. Then I'll be putting
Inverted comma.
Where?
After road.
Right. So it's actually close quotation marks after road. So is it close quotation full stop or is it full stop close quotation marks? Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay, so which is it?
A full stop after. No, before inverted comma.
Right, so it's full stop and close quotation marks, correct?
Yeah.
All right, thanks for calling. Right, guys, let's move on. Good evening, welcome to See Results.
Good evening.
Welcome back, Jaden. Help us with number 11.
I think you're putting a question mark after is.
Right, so question mark, close quotation or close quotation, question mark?
Question mark, then the close quotation mark.
Right, so right after the word is.
Let's have to do the next one.
Go ahead.
You're putting apostrophe S for it.
Right, so it's IT apostrophe S, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thanks for calling.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so let's just review here. One day, two girls were walking to school. Full stop is the end of a sentence. How do we know that? The next line begins with a capital letter. One of them suddenly shouted, and then we're going to have speech going on here, so we need a comma after the dialogue tag. So shouted, comma, an open quotation, as you noticed here, before the word look. And if they are shouting, we have to use exclamation mark. So look, exclamation mark, I see a snake. This I here, regardless of the exclamation mark, supposed to be capital. Right, so be mindful of that. Look, I see a snake. If it was any other word, aside from this pronoun here, I, it would be in common letters. Actually, it would be in capital letters, just as here. Look, exclamation mark, I see a snake. It is crawling across the road. And end of speech, so close quotation mark, so full stop, close quotation. Open quotation again. What kind do you think it is? Question mark, close quotation mark. Ask the other. I think it is, so it's short for it is, a coral because of its colors. So that's the end of punctuation and capitalization. So we're going to move on to grammar, but just before we do so, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we're going to continue. Stay tuned with us, guys. We'll be right back.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys and welcome back to C Results. I'm Ms. Nyla and you are rejoining me for English Language Arts today. So just before the break we completed a poetry exercise, spelling, punctuation and capitalization. We are now moving on to the end of task, section 1 actually, which is task 3, which is grammar. So let's move on to grammar. There's one grammatical error in each line. Of course you have to identify the grammatical error and then give us the correction. All right, so let's read through this passage. Joseph Martin is an athlete which lives with their parents and siblings in Couva. He usually trains after school and on weekends. He studied very hard and performs good in school. Joseph's dream is to become an Olympic medalist. Right, so of course the lines are open. Feel free to call us and help us identify the grammatical errors here and give us the corrections. Right, line by line. So I'm just going to hold a couple seconds, and we do have a call on the line. Good evening, welcome to C Results.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum assalam. Who am I speaking with?
Riyasin Mohammed.
Okay, nice to have you with us. So help me with number 13 there.
Okay. Joseph Martin is an athlete which lives. The error is which. It's supposed to be who. Because with which it would be describing an object or an animal.
Excellent. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys. So number 14, good evening. Welcome to C Results.
Hello.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Andian.
Hi, Andian. So number 14.
With their parents and siblings in Cuba. Their his.
His. Correct, Andian. Thank you for calling. Right, and I do believe Andian gave us the answer in our last task, which dealt with there. So, his. Right, moving on to number 15. Good evening. Welcome to C Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead with number 15.
A career.
Sure.
You can zoom a little.
Of course. Just give it a second. We're going to zoom in there for you.
He usually train after school and on weekends. You train.
Right. What is wrong with train?
It was to be trains.
Trains. Excellent. Thank you for calling. All right, let's move on to number 16. Good evening. Welcome to C Results. Hi, who am I speaking with?
Aaron.
Okay, Aidan, go ahead with number 16 for me. Read number 16, that line.
Okay, he usually trains after school and on weekends. He studied very hard and...
Right, so what is going on there?
He studies very hard.
He studied.
He studies.
So spell that for me.
Studies.
So that is correct, okay? So it's studies.
Yes.
Okay, number 17. Good evening, welcome to C Results.
Good evening.
Okay, welcome back, Jaden. Are you there, Jaden?
Yes, miss.
Okay, go ahead.
If I can read the line.
Yes.
Perform good in school, Joseph's dream is.
Right. What is the error there?
It's changing good to well.
To will?
Yes, miss.
Spell will for me.
W-E-L-L.
Right, so changing good to well.
Well.
Do you know why, or do you know that's just the correction?
Miss, I just know that's the correction.
All right, no problem with that. Thanks for calling. All right, and let's take a final call for number 18. Good evening, welcome to C Results.
Hi, afternoon.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Reagan again.
Okay, Reagan, that last line there.
Okay, so we have to change became to become.
Okay, why is that?
I just made a correction.
All right, no problem.
Miss, I could just say one thing?
Sure.
The Riyaz and Mama person, that's my friend from school. I just want to tell him hi because I ain't seen him in a long while.
Well, no problem. That's great. I'm happy all of you can join us at the same time. And I'm sure he's happy that you are shouting him out. Right? And probably any other friends as well. Thanks for calling.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Right, that was very nice of Reagan. Okay, guys, so let's just review this exercise here. Joseph Martin is an athlete who lives, right? So it's a change of the relative pronoun which, and we should actually have who as it is referring to a person and not an object, with their parents and siblings in Couva, right? The subject here is still singular. They're speaking of one person, a male person. So it's actually the possessive adjective with his parents and siblings in Couva and not their parents. He usually trains after school and on, right? So it's trains and not train because subject-verb agreement, sorry, right? So we have a singular subject which should be followed by a singular verb. We know singular verbs end in S, so he usually trains after school and on weekends. He studies very hard and performs, right? So, of course, subject-verb agreement is going on here again where he said he studies, so singular subject followed by singular verb. However, in this case, it's the use of the correct tense, the present tense. And studied is in the actual past tense or the past tense of the verb study. And if we look at Joseph Martin is, which is present, right? The tense used throughout the passage is showing that it is present continuously, right? He usually trains, again, shows present tense, so therefore we are following along with present tense, right? So he studies very hard and performs good, should actually be well. So good here is an adjective, but we want to use the adverb well in this case as it answers the question of how does Joseph perform, right? So the adverb well, performs well in school. Joseph's dream is to become an Olympic medalist, right? So it's actually not became, past tense, but to become. So followed by the word to, we have the infinitive or the base form of the word, Right, so I hope that you did get a total in this entire section, section 1, which was with 30 marks. Right, so easy 30 marks if you are continuously revising your rules and you are working the paper with us each and every Monday, or each Monday and Tuesday. Okay, guys. So let's move on to a nonfiction comprehension passage, right? We're going to read a passage together as we usually do, and then I'm going to take some calls. The giant African snail. The giant African snail is native to East Africa and was introduced into the Caribbean in the 1980s. Since its discovery in Diego Martin, Trinidad in 2008, it has spread to other areas of Trinidad, including Aranjuez, Golden Grove, Chase Village, and San Fernando. The giant African snail is a very large snail and can weigh as much as 1 kg, and the shell can reach up to 20 centimeters in length. What is of even greater interest about the species, though, is the fact that it is on the list of the world's 100 most destructive pests. In fact, its presence in any country can affect trading with other nations. These pests are scavengers and feed on decayed vegetation, but they also feed on over 500 plant species, including vegetable and fruit crops, forest trees, and ornamentals. They can be found on or under leaves, along the drains, on walls, in shrub borders, under garbage, in dirt, in dark, moist areas, and even on vehicles. Since the giant African snail must be eradicated, it is important to be able to distinguish it from the local snails, which are harmless and must not be killed. The giant African snail begins to reproduce at 5 months. They can live from 5 to 7 years under the right conditions. A single snail can produce up to 1,200 eggs in its lifetime. The giant African snail can be killed using certain chemicals and cultural methods. Once they are dead, however, they must be burnt because dead snails can release viable eggs in the soil. This means the eggs hatch and the snail population continues. In addition, dead snails create a stench, and they also attract rodents and other unwanted creatures. Another precaution is never handle the giant African snail with your bare hands because they are carriers of the rat lungworm, which can cause a terrible disease. The giant African snail is a notifiable pest. This means by law, you must report any sightings to the relevant authorities. Right, so a bit of a lengthy passage there. I do hope you got the gist of it, the main idea, and you were able to follow along. But don't worry, as we usually have the relevant paragraphs in between each question, so that will help you guys. All right, so let's look at number 19, and let's take a call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Good afternoon.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Javen.
Okay, Javen, go ahead with number 19. I want you to read number 19 out loud, and then I'm going to turn to the passage for you, okay?
Okay, miss. According to the passage, where in Trinidad and when was the giant African snail first discovered?
Okay, so where in Trinidad was the giant African snail first discovered?
You could go back to the passage, please.
Sure. So you want to know where and when was it discovered?
So it was discovered.
So in a complete sentence, right?
Huh?
In a complete sentence, please.
The giant African snail was discovered in Diego Martin, Trinidad in 2008.
Excellent. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome, miss.
Right, guys, so the giant African snail was first discovered in Diego Martin, Trinidad in 2008. And that's a literal question. That answer was given directly in the passage. All right, number 20, let's take a call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening. Welcome.
Good evening.
Welcome back. So help us with number 20.
Was Trinidad the first Caribbean country to be invaded by the giant African snail? Use details from the passage to support your answer.
If you need me to go back to the question, let me know, okay?
Okay. No, miss, I don't think they were first discovered to Trinidad and Tobago.
Right, that is correct. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
Right, so was Trinidad the first Caribbean country to be invaded by the giant African snail? Use details from the passage to support your answer. No, because it was introduced into the Caribbean in the 1980s, but it was later discovered in Trinidad in 2008. Right, you simply had to read your lines carefully and you would find that answer. Again, number 21, what is the main idea of the passage? We'll take a call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with? Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, afternoon. Regan
Hi.
again.
Okay, Regan, go ahead with number 21.
What is the main idea of the passage?
Right.
You can just go back to the passage. All right, thank you. Okay, so the main idea of the passage is about the African snail and how destructive they are.
Very good, Regan. Thanks for calling.
Bye.
So the main idea is that the giant African snail is a destructive pest and it must be destroyed. Next question. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Aaron again.
Okay, Aaron, can you read number 22 for me, please?
You can just zoom in a little.
Okay.
From the passage gives 3 reasons why the presence of the giant African snail in Trinidad is a cause for concern.
Right. And I just want to help you a little bit here. I give 3 reasons why the presence, okay, of the giant African snail. All right, I'm just going to turn to the paragraph or passage for you.
Yeah. You can just zoom in a little.
Yes, okay.
These pests are scavengers and feed on decay vegetation, but they also feed on over 500 plant species, including vegetable and first-cross forest trees and
ornamentals.
Ornamentals?
Yes. Okay, so the questions actually give 3 reasons why the presence of the giant African snail, in Trinidad is a cause for concern, right? So aside from the fact that they are scavengers and
they like to destruct. They eat plants and they destruct plants and things.
Right. Any other reason you can probably think about?
They could destroy crops and vegetation.
Right, and let me just go back. Just give me 1 second. I want to go back to the passage higher up for you. Right. Okay, so I want you to read the second paragraph here and see if you can identify another reason why.
Yeah, okay. The giant African snail is very large snail, can weigh as much 1 kg and the cell can reach up to 20 centimeters in length. What is even greater interest about the species in the fact that it is
on the list
on the list of the world's 100 most destructive pests. In fact, its presence in any country can affect trading with other nations. Its presence in any country can affect trading with other nations.
Excellent. Right, so that is another reason there. And I want you to read this paragraph from another here, right, and you will get your last answer.
Okay. Another precaution is never handle the giant African snail with your bare hands because they are carriers
Go ahead, they are
the
carriers
rat
of.
lungworm, which can cause a terrible disease.
Great. Right, so from that, can you think of a reason why they want to get rid of the giant African snail? Because of what?
It spread diseases.
Excellent job. Thank you so much for calling.
Yeah.
Okay, right, so that was very well done. So we're looking at 3 reasons why the presence of the giant African snail in Trinidad is a cause for concern. Right, the giant African snail is a destructive pest. Right, we know that it destroys crops, it can affect trade with other countries, and also it can help in spreading a terrible disease. Number 23, let's take a call. Good evening, welcome to See Results.
Hello?
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
This is Aidan.
Okay, Aidan, read for me number 23.
Very well done. Yes, no, I'm not seeing the question as yet.
Okay, just give it a second, you'll see it shortly.
Yeah?
Let me know when you are seeing it, okay?
Yeah. Okay, now we're going to see it.
Right.
The meaning of the word scavengers as used in the passage is pest.
Pest. These pests are scavengers, right? So scavenger actually refers to animals that eat dead plants or decayed vegetation, okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
They eat the remains. So this will be remains given here. Now, next question. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller. You are live on See Results. Okay, let's take another call. Hi, good evening.
Hi.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Michaela White.
Nice to have you with us, Michaela. Can you read number 24 for me, please?
How do you think the...
Can we just zoom in on this question, please, guys? Thanks. Okay, go ahead, Michaela.
How do you think the presence of the giant African snail in any country can affect trading with other nations? Give a reason for your answer.
Right. And I highlighted that line for you. We can just scroll down to the bottom there.
In fact, its presence in any country can affect trading with other nations. I think it would affect trading with other nations because it could go in, the snails could go into the food or the products that would be sold, that will be traded to other nations.
And as a result of that, what will happen?
The countries that will trade would lose money from not trading.
Okay, all right, no problem. But I do want to elaborate on that answer a little bit, okay? Right, so other nations will not want to trade because the snails might get into their country, just as she said, with shipped goods, therefore resulting in the destruction of vegetation. Right, so if they're trading vegetation or crops, for example, and some of the snails are in the vegetables and they go across, right, we may not end up with any vegetables at the end of the day or crops, right? They might eat all or destroy them. And also they can spread a terrible disease. That's another reason as well. So thank you, Michaela.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys. Number 25. Let's take a call to help us. Good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome back, Jaden. Can you read number 25 for me?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
Why do you think the words must not be killed? Line 13 are in bold.
Right. I'm just going to go to that for you. It's highlighted here for you. Can you see it there?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Why would something be written in bold, or why are these words here written in bold?
To stand to the reader that person must not kill the local snails because they are harmless.
Okay,
can you?
Right, but can you just repeat the first part of your answer for me?
So it will stand out to persons who are reading it.
Excellent. Right, that's what I'm looking at. Thank you for calling. Right?
You're
It is
welcome.
written in bold letters to capture the reader's attention because the message is important. Yes?
I can answer the next one.
Okay, I'm going to go to that now. Go ahead and read number 26 for me.
Do you think that the passage provides sufficient information to ensure that local snails are not killed? Give a reason for your answer.
Right. And you can just go ahead and read this paragraph out loud for me.
Since the giant African snail must be eradicated, it is important to be able to distinguish it from the local snails, which are harmless and must not be killed.
Right. And I'm going to ask you here, did they mention about the local snails aside from this paragraph?
No, miss.
Right. So going back to the question of, do you think that the passage provides sufficient information to ensure that local snails are not killed? Right. I want you to go ahead and answer that for me.
No, I don't think they provide sufficient information because they didn't talk about what the value of the snails are.
Okay, no problem. That is correct. Thank you for calling.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys. So no, because the passage does not tell how to identify the local snails. All they said is that we should not kill them. But how do we distinguish them from the giant African snails? Or a little bit more information about the local snails. Right? So more information on that should be given. Let's take another call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening, caller.
Hi, afternoon.
Hi, welcome. Who am I speaking with?
Regan again.
Okay, Regan, can you read number 27 for me?
Sure. Do you agree that the giant African snail should be a notifiable pest? Give 2 reasons for your answer from the passage.
Okay, and you can probably read those last 2 lines there out loud.
The giant African snail is a notifiable pest. This means by law you must report any sightings to the relevant authorities.
Right. So just going back to the question, give 2 reasons for your answer from the passage.
Okay, so I think that there should be a notifiable pest because they can destroy every crop in the country.
Right.
And while our country trying to trade, they will eat the crops that we are trading, and they could cause a whole population of other snails in the other countries.
Okay.
That can cause a huge problem.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
Right.
Bye.
So bye. Yes, because so they asked, do you agree? Yes, because this is very destructive. Also can cause problems with trade, just as Regan said, and also can cause diseases. Right. And our final question here. Let's take a call. Good evening. Welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hi, Miss.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Michaela again.
Okay, Michaela, can you read number 28 for me?
Would you repeat any question, please?
Yes, 1 second. I'm just going to zoom in there for you.
According to the passage, say 2 effects of not burning snails when they are killed.
And if you would like to read the paragraph, that's fine.
Okay. The giant African snail can be killed using certain chemical and cultural methods. Once they are dead, however, they must be burned because dead snails can release vital eggs in the soil. This means that the eggs hatch and the snail population continues. In addition, dead snails create a stench and they can attach rodents and other unwanted creatures.
Right, so I'm just going to go back to the question. According to the passage, state 2 effects of not burning snails when they are killed. So what are 2 effects of that?
Can we go back to the passage? Okay.
Yeah.
They can lay eggs, which would in the soil, which would gain the snail population, and they would create a stench to attract rodents and other unwanted creatures.
Right. So those are 2 reasons. Thank you so much for calling.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys, so let's just look at this final question. It will cause a terrible stench. Also, eggs will still be viable and can also attract unwanted organisms, right? So to prevent any of those, we have to burn snails when they are killed, right? So I hope that you did actually learn a lot and take away some information about the giant African snails. We do have them in Trinidad, just as was evident in the passage, and they are in fact dangerous, right? So please remember some of this information, and probably you can do a little bit more research on a giant African snail, right? So this brings us to the end of our nonfiction comprehension passage and English language arts for today. We are going to take a break for a couple of minutes, and when we come back, you are going to rejoin me for creative writing. Stay tuned with us, guys. We'll be right back.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
In order to maneuver through the COVID-19 pandemic, Trinidad and Tobago as a nation needs to work together in solidarity to support one another. The frontline workers and essential service workers are putting their lives at risk every day in order to ensure that those that are affected have the care that they need, that the virus is contained, and that we are able to access necessities during the quarantine period. As a business built on core family values for the past 95 years, we are honored to provide aid to our brave frontline medical staff who are going above and beyond in these uncertain times. We urge you to do your part as well in whatever way that you can in order to flatten the curve and support one another.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to C Results. I'm Miss Nyla, and you're now joining me for creative writing. So guys, we just completed a lot with English language ASP, and we will be continuing with lots more, don't worry about it. And for creative writing today, we are actually going to, of course, showcase some of your submissions from the Edmodo class. And I will be touching on a little bit about descriptive language and figurative language again. So this first part will be about revision of descriptive and figurative language. Reason being, after reading some of the submissions, we are seeing that some students are lacking in these areas. Remember, you do get and are awarded 5 marks for language use, right? So please, we want to ensure that you're writing, in case it's a narrative, that is well and properly descriptive, and you use relevant and suitable examples of figurative language. I don't know if students are having difficulty implementing it or using it in their writing, but they are definitely not giving us sufficient use of descriptive and figurative language throughout their writing. Of course, that does not apply to all students, right? And we want to ensure that all students have the same opportunity and the same ideas and what is expected from them. So let's just review a little bit about descriptive and figurative language. Here I'm going to give you quite some examples, and I'm going to show you how to use it in your writing. Right now, this is something that we did look at before. So, to go a little bit more in depth about figurative language and descriptive language, you can review our videos on YouTube. Those videos are labeled for you, so you can probably find it by figurative language, descriptive language. So, for instance, you're having difficulty with the use of alliteration, you can just simply type in that, and that will pop up for you. Right? So let's move on to descriptive language. Now, what does descriptive language entail? We know that descriptive language is all about the 5 senses. And we do know what the 5 senses are, of course, being touch, smell, taste, hearing, and sight. And just as we saw in our poetry a short while ago, they do test you on figurative language and on descriptive language. And we often have to reflect on our 5 senses. So you must be able to identify it and use it in your writing, but also, be able to use it in your answers, right? Not actually use it in your answers, but to be able to find it in the poem to respond to the questions given based on those, right? So let's look at some examples here of words, that pertain to sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Now, these are just, a few, very little bits actually, and there are mounds of words for each of those. And I want you to do a little bit of research, pull out your vocabulary book if you have one, and start using synonyms for your words. Stop using boring words, so to speak, right? And make your writing interesting. The point of creative writing is to be creative, to use adjectives, to use words that will really bring your story to life, right? So, for example, you're talking about sight. You're appealing to the sense of sight in your writing, right? These are some examples of some words that you can use for the writer to be able to see what you're actually painting in your writing, right? So, a blaze, polished, right? A blaze probably pertaining to a fire. Polished, probably speaking about, teeth. Crinkled, clothing, blurry, eyesight, misty, how it looks outside, opaque, fuzzy, gloomy, filthy, pale. What about the sense of hearing? Crackle, gasping, hissing, rattle, whack, thump, slurp, screech, honk, clash, right? So the sense of hearing and onomatopoeia, very similar there, and we're going to look at onomatopoeia as well in your figurative language a little while from now, so don't worry about that as well, right? Smell, moldy, burnt, fishy, limey, minty, earthy, pungent, rancid, vanilla, putrid, right? And then there are all these fancy words that we learn about when we are reading and when we are looking at movies and even from games. I want you to practice using, different words in your writing. When appealing to the sense of taste, we can say something is salty, citrus flavor maybe, right? Buttery, garlicky, milky, smoky, spoilt, peppery, oily, right? Musty even, right? That old taste. What about the sense of touch? Gooey, soggy, thorny, icy, moist, greasy, creamy, damp, feverish, uneven, coarse. So these are just a couple examples, just as I said, and there are many, many more. So, you can probably practice on some of your favorite words, use it in your writing. Some of them that you are accustomed with, the ones that you more lean to when you are writing, right? Just so that when you have a topic in front of you, you don't have to worry about, well, I already said the word, I already said whack. What else can I say to describe a sound, right? Maybe somebody's hitting you, right? So what else can I say to describe a sound or a lash or anything like that, right? Ensure that you know your synonyms. Not only synonyms, but antonyms, of course, and new words, right? And these are just a couple of sentences here of how we use them in writing. The white, puffy clouds blanketed us as we strolled along the lush green field, right? So we're looking here at words that pertain to the different senses. And I want you to be able to figure out, well, which word here pertains to which sight. Not sight, sorry, but which sense, right? The white puffy clouds, sense of sight, blanketed us as we strolled along the lush green field, right? So this sentence here pertains to sight a bit. The old wooden chair creaked as Tom slouched forward in a deafening snore. Couple things going on here, right? And you should be able to say, well, wooden chair, right? What is that appealing to? Deafening snore. And you should also be able to identify your senses throughout your writing, in your own writing, right? So after you have written your piece, you are going through it, you are looking at, your language use, your use of descriptions, and you say, great, I appeal to the writer here with a sense of sight, and later down, the sense of hearing, and even taste or touch. Try to differentiate in your writing, right? Do not limit yourself. The sweet, peppery taste of pineapple chow enticed my taste buds, right? So this one is a bit of a giveaway. As I walked into the musty room, I sprayed my fruity perfume to dampen the moldy odor. The jagged edge pierced my soft, tender palms, right? So each sentence here appeals to something different, to each sight. Not sight, I keep saying sight, guys, but actually sense. So each sentence here pertains to different sense. So, it's up to you how well you manage your writing, right? How you use your words to make your story come to life, to, really captivate and to hook your reader. So what about figurative language? That is where figurative language comes into play. Yes, you can use descriptive language, but figurative language makes your writing 10 times better. Now, you do not have to overload your writing and your story with, figures of speech. So you should not use 10 similes and then try to use 10 metaphors. No, do not make it too much, guys. You can vary it. Probably use 2 examples of similes. Later on, use a metaphor. And if personification arises, that is fine as well, right? You do not have to overpack your story with figures of speech. Use enough just so that your story, has different levels to it. Right? So let's just look at, a figure of speech makes use of words, phrases, and expressions to show some form of comparison, emphasis, and exaggeration. Right? The words used mean more of something other than what it seems to say. Right? For example, that's a metaphor. In other words, the words used are not literally true in some cases. Right? So let's look at the figures of speech that we will be reviewing. We're going to look at similes, metaphors, personification, onomatopoeia, and hyperbole, right? We did touch on alliteration as well, and I'm not sure what's the next one. I'll probably remember in a couple of seconds, right? But these are the popular ones here that we, commonly find in our poem. We commonly find similes, metaphors, personification, and onomatopoeia in our poem. So you have to be very mindful of those. Keep them in the back of your head. Keep using them in your writing to keep it fresh in your minds. Right? It's very easy for us to forget, what is personification or even onomatopoeia, and to identify a metaphor even. But simile, that's one of the more common ones that we use frequently because of like and as, right? But please try to use others in your writing. So what is a simile? right? A simile is a figure of speech, and we can just probably go to the screen here, guys. A simile is a figure of speech used to emphasize two unlike things by using as or like, right? So we know that it's a comparison between two unlike things, just as we saw in the poem with flowers and halibut, or even velvet and hay. The young boy was as brave as a lion when he defended himself against the thieves, right? Here we are using the comparison or comparing a young boy to a lion, right? Of course, two unlike things. Chris popped out of his seat like a toast out of the toaster, right? So you're comparing a human here to an object, but you can still see what's happening, right? So Chris popped out of his seat, right? Making that comparison to like when you're toasting bread and, you know, time is up. How does the toast come out? It pops, right? So you can see that. You can actually see what's happening. Let's look at some examples here of similes and what they mean, right? So it's not only that you need to know some examples of similes, but you need to use them suitably or appropriately in your writing. You can't just say as easy as ABC, but you don't know what that means, or it does not fit in your sentence. Then you're going to confuse your reader, and it's going to affect the flow or fluency in your narrative piece, right? And we don't want that. We want the reader to know, you know, to have an idea or say, yes, this student knows exactly what they are saying, and they're using that example correctly. As free as a bird. And what does that mean? No worries or troubles, right? I am as free as a bird, or you will be as free as a bird when you write that essay exam, right? At least for some time, guys. As clean as a whistle, which means very clean. As clear as mud, which is not exactly clear or not clear at all. As dead as the dodo, dodo referring to the extinct bird, right? Dead or extinct. As bright as a new pin, very bright and shiny. As easy as ABC, meaning that something is very easy, right? As cunning as a fox, meaning that it's sly or somebody is sly. As cool as a cucumber, calm and relaxed. And there are, you know, hundreds of examples for similes, right? Just use the suitable one or a suitable one in your writing. Let's look at some sentences now where we use similes in our writing. The two girls are like two peas in a pod. So what is that saying, or what am I saying about the two girls here? I am saying that they are very close. The man sleeps like a log, right? I am saying that he sleeps soundly. She hung her head like a drooping flower, right? Meaning that she may be sad or disappointed. Kate swims like a fish, meaning that Kate swims well naturally. Her smile is bright like the sun, meaning her smile is radiant, right? Lights up the room. Jason acts like a clown, meaning that Jason acts silly, right? So these are just some examples of how it can be used in your writing. But what about a metaphor, right? We know that a metaphor is a comparison of two unlike things, just like a simile, except without using the words as or like, right? For example, the classroom was a zoo, or your brain is a computer, right? So sometimes when the teacher leaves the classroom for a minute and she comes back, she might use this expression, right? Or your brain is a computer, somebody who thinks really quickly. All right, let's look at some examples of some sentences here. Jamal was a pig at dinner. What am I saying about Jamal? Right? I was saying that he was very messy, or he ate that way. I wish you weren't always such a chicken. I am saying that, you know, you are afraid to do something, right? Meaning that you are probably always afraid or scared of trying things. Life is one long, scary roller coaster. Meaning that life has its high points and low points, or similarly, its ups and its downs. You are my guardian angel, meaning that a helpful or a protective person, or referring to a helpful or protective person, right? Or somebody who's always there for you in time of need. The golden ball shone in all its glory, right? Very popular one actually with the students, meaning and referring to the sun, of course, shining very brightly. And let's go to the next figure of speech, which is personification. right? Personification is a figurative language technique where an object or idea is given human characteristics or qualities, right? So let's look at some examples here. The sun smiled at me warmly. Can the sun smile? No, right? But if you write it in this way, the reader is going to understand what you are saying, right? Look at the way, the words are put together, right? That's why it's called a personification. It's given something that is inanimate, right? Human qualities. The sun cannot actually smile. The bees kissed every flower in the lovely garden, right? The bees did not literally give the flower a kiss, but it probably went flower to flower, not missing a single flower in the garden. Right? Let's look at some examples now. The angry rain pounded on my windows, right? Meaning that the rain was falling hard against the windows. But which sentence here, in your opinion, right, would you choose to write in your story? Which one would make it sound more interesting? Which one do you think is going to make your reader, more attracted to? Will I rather read an essay using simple sentences such as this, right? Or can I personify my sentences, right, and make them, quite interesting? Dave's pencil was flying across his page. Or should I say he was writing very quickly, right? Again, the same thing here. Look at the difference. Now, yes, this is the meaning to the sentence, but this is another way of writing the same thing. So this is what I'm trying to show you guys, right? So use personification in your writing as opposed to just directly stating information. The red light yelled, stop. A red traffic light is a signal to stop your car. The old door moaned in protest as it opened. The old door creaked because it had not been opened for a long time, right? The apples jumped off the tree. That means the apples are falling to the ground. What about onomatopoeia? Right? We use onomatopoeia in our writing quite often. Right? I don't know if you remember that it's called onomatopoeia. Maybe you should remember that just for the sake of or in poetry, for example, as I pointed out earlier, you are often tested, on your literary devices. Onomatopoeia is a word or group of words that, when spoken aloud, imitate the sound it produces. Right? So like boom or pop, slurp, bam, splash, boing, ah, and z. Right? So the z here is the effect of sleeping when they're actually referring to somebody who is sleeping. Right? So let's look at these examples. On my first morning on the farm, I was awoken suddenly by a cock-a-doodle-doo of the resident rooster. I'm going to read that over. On my first morning on the farm, I was awoken suddenly by a cock-a-doodle-doo of the resident rooster. So here you have your onomatopoeia. Quack, quack, when the ducks, as we threw them, our stale bread. Zip, my dress was fastened, and I was finally ready for the wedding. Right? And if you think about this, or think about zipping something, it will give you that sound. Right? That sound comes to mind. It was lovely to wake up to the tweet of the birds outside my bedroom window. Which word here refers to onomatopoeia, right? And if you're thinking the word tweet, then of course you are correct there, guys. The loud boom of the fireworks scared the dog, right? And of course the word boom here. What I want to draw your attention to, and you'll notice for the example of onomatopoeia, in each sentence, for example, the loud boom of the fireworks scared the dog, we don't have an exclamation mark after the word boom, right? Maybe if you're using it singly, probably at the start of a sentence, such as this, that is fine. But if you're using onomatopoeia, in the middle of a sentence, it does not require an exclamation mark, right? That's a frequent error with a lot of students. So let's be mindful of that. And lastly, hyperbole, which is a figurative expression where exaggeration is used to create a strong effect, right? The thought is usually overemphasized to give a dramatic or comical effect. For example, I am so hungry, I can eat a cow. Maybe you had a long day at school, you know, lots of work, really busy, come home, and this is what you say to your mom, right? I am so hungry, I can eat a cow, I can eat a horse, whatever it is. He is older than the road, right? So here, this does not apply literally, right? The person may not necessarily be older than the road. It's just an exaggeration to talk about or give an example about, you know, how somebody may look or act even. These books in your bag weigh a ton. Can you actually carry a ton of books with that weight? No, you cannot, right? I am really busy. I am doing a million things at the same time. Sometimes our parents say this, right? Again, exaggeration. You cannot do a million things at the same time. But it shows how busy or how occupied you are. Yeah, I already beat that game 80,000 years ago, right? I hardly believe that any of us would live that long, okay? Old Mr. Johnson has been teaching here since the Stone Age, right? So because Mr. Johnson is old, right, someone here is saying that, you know, he has been teaching here so long, he has been here so long. Stone Age was a very, very long time ago. And Mr. Johnson, I assure you guys, was not around the same time as Stone Age. But it's just an exaggeration to tell you, or, you know, somebody will tell someone about Mr. Johnson who may not know him, right, about how old he is. I am so tired, I can sleep for a year. I do feel like this sometimes, right? So you cannot actually sleep for a year, but it shows or proves the point to tell someone, you know, about how exhausted you may be feeling at that point in time, right? So that's the end of our figurative language session and descriptive language, of course. I want you to put this into practice. You know, if I did probably, you know, bypass some of the things and went over a little too quickly, I do want you to go over, you know, this video on our YouTube channel or even on our Facebook page, right? And, you know, pause, reflect on it, create your own sentences, your own examples of personification, simile, metaphor, whatever it is that you may lack in your area of weakness, and practice on it. For the narrative piece that we gave last week, right, we will look at some submissions, of course, so Ijaz will join us in a little bit for that, right? And I want the viewers, I want you to examine the pieces. I want you to pay attention to language use, of course, so descriptive language and figurative language. Now, what must we always bear in mind, right? And that will be our narrative rubric. When we just started our home stretch season, so on our road to, you know, SEA, we reviewed the narrative rubric, right? And what does a narrative rubric entail? Of course, content, your language use, organization, grammar, mechanics. But what is more important is what each of those criteria entail, right? Of course, again, you can review those videos for further information on the rubric. But bear in mind the rubric when you are following along with the pieces with us. I want you to judge for yourself, you know, well, what did the students acquire? So the strengths, we're looking at strengths, what the marks given for, and areas of weaknesses. So what can you improve upon? So for example, punctuation is a very weak area in many cases, right? And also subject-verb agreement, so grammar, right? So I want you to pay attention to some of the weaker areas and some of the strengths that students, you know, showing us in their writing. I'm just going to read the instructions for the piece that we gave last on our Edmodo class. Write an interesting story which includes the sentence below, or the sentences below. I stood still and stared. Were my eyes deceiving me? I looked again. I wasn't dreaming. Remember to include details about where you were, what surprised you, and why you were so surprised. So from this instruction here, you know that you must include this sentence or sentences here in your writing. If you do not include it in your writing, you know, you may lose 1 or 2 marks for that, right? Maybe even half mark, probably not an entire mark. But you still have to be very mindful of it. At the back of your mind, when you are writing your story, go back to the top, read your instructions. And sometimes we do that, right? Just to refresh our minds, well, what am I writing about? What is the aim, right? What am I supposed to include here to ensure that you are not leaving out anything? So I'm actually just going to read a shorter piece for you, as we just have a couple minutes before Maghrib, and let's just analyze it. The honeycomb sun shone in all, I'm going to start over. The honeycomb sun shone in all its brilliance that Friday afternoon. My friends and I were making our way home from school when suddenly I spotted thick black smoke ascending into the aqua-like cotton sky. Like a cheetah, I darted down the street, only to realize that my 66-year-old neighbor, Mr. Smith's house was covered in flames. Right, so we have a comma missing here. I stood still and stared. Were my eyes deceiving me? I looked again. I wasn't dreaming, I told myself. So excellent. The line is already included here. Right? It's time for a break, guys. It's 6:34, so that means that it's Maghrib. But stay tuned with us. When we come back, I'm going to complete this piece, and then Sejaz will join us to read some of your submissions. Stay tuned with us. Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to See Results. I'm Miss Nyla, and you are joining me for creative writing. Right, so just before the break, we were looking at this submission. So I'm actually going to start from the top. We just completed the first paragraph, and we're going to analyze it a bit. The honeycombed sun shone in all its brilliance that Friday afternoon. My friends and I were making our way home from school when suddenly I spotted thick black smoke ascending into the aqua-like curtain sky. Right, so this here is actually starting with a setting, right, painting us or giving us here an image of what's happening. Like a cheetah, I darted down the street, only to realize that my 66-year-old neighbor, Mr. Smith's house, was covered in flames. So we have nouns in opposition going on here. So neighbor, comma, Mr. Smith, a comma is missing. I stood still and stared. Were my eyes deceiving me? I looked again. I wasn't dreaming. Right, so it's excellent that the students inserted the line, right, or use the line here that was asked in the instructions. However, it should not be in quotation marks, right, or that was not necessary. I told myself. Immediately, my mother contacted the paramedics along with the fire department. One brave person ran into the house to save my neighbor. As soon as the services arrived, they extinguished the fire and rescued the persons who were trapped in the house. They were immediately rushed to the hospital for treatment. Since his house was burned down, my mother and father invited him to stay at our house or home until his home was rebuilt. Also, he told us that the fire started because he was smoking a cigarette, and he threw it by the gas tank and the fire escalated. He furthermore thanked my mother for her generosity. All right, so this was written by Kiara Redhead. Of course, it should be thanked, past tense. Right, so Kiara, good effort here. Right, this could have been such a great story if you had just given us a little bit more details about the fire, right? Or, you know, what you are describing as the incident in the story. So let's give us a little bit more about it, you know, use some figurative language, use some descriptive language, and just expand on what you have already started. The story started off very beautifully, right, with that setting that you painted for us. If you use a bit more description in your writing, that would have really topped it off. Right, we do want to take a minute and appreciate the use of your simile here and the use of or inserting the line that was instructed. We did see that some students left out that. I don't know, by the time you probably started writing that you forget the instructions given. Right, so just a little bit more details and description and it would have been perfect. So I'm going to leave you guys now in a couple seconds. So Ijaz is going to join us. Right, so I want you to probably begin reading our next piece, and Sir Ijaz will be on with us in a couple seconds. And we're just going to probably scroll to the very top there.
Good evening, assalamu alaikum, and welcome back. Well, actually, we didn't go on a break, but I am now joining you, so welcome anyway. If you just happen to flick this station to IBN TV Channel 8. And we are reading some of your submissions from the narrative writing piece that was due on Friday gone at 11:59 p.m. All right, so we were given some sentences that we had to use in our writing for this exercise, and we were given some further instructions about describing where you were, why you were so surprised, and so on. Right, so let's look at this story, and these next two stories here, I selected them for a particular reason. All right, actually, okay, before I get to those two stories, there's one here that I'm going to read that is actually a little bit problematic. All right, so let's just identify why. So one sunny Sunday morning, as the wind slapped my face and the sun shone on my rose-like face, I awake from my slumber. Right, so here the author is trying to say rose, you know, like the flower, right? So misspelling there. I awake, so it should be I awoke. The story is happening in the past. It should be in the past tense. Lacking here in capitalization, my pink cellular iPhone had rang out as I reached to grab it. All right, so we're seeing some grammatical errors there. especially with the way that the language is used itself. I saw my next door neighbor pulling a huge black bag. I wonder what is in that bag, I said to myself. All right, as he ran to the door, and this should be as he ran to the door, I walked down the stairs as fast as an ant, and again here, the use of the word, this is the wrong ant. I'm assuming that the author here is referring to the ant, the insect. I then ran to her house where I saw the bag moving. That should be where I saw the bag moving. I then got scared, but at the same time saw the man coming back for the bag. I skated off so again, it looks like a spelling error here. I'm guessing that the author is trying to say I scared off right? Which again would not be, standard English anyway. I scared him off, then left the bag into the kitchen. I then jumped. It was a fish he was taking out. I thought it was a I died body. So the author is trying to say I thought it was a dead body, but it was not. I then ran back to my home and closed my window. 2 months later, we then heard that Mrs. James is missing. That should be missing, all right? And of course, we will never identify students whose writing has this many errors in it. So what can we take away from this piece of writing here? Okay, it's lacking in many facets, all right, guys? So y'all can come back to me there, please. We are lacking in the number of paragraphs, the sentences that were there in the prompt to be used. They were not here within the story. The grammar was not good. There were a lot of spelling errors, punctuation errors, and so on. In the end, it ended up being a fish in the bag. So what would be the correlation there between the fish and then Miss James becoming missing, all right? So I just wanted to highlight this. Of course, we tend to focus more on the pieces that were well done, but we have to showcase sometimes the bad pieces so that you'll know what to avoid, all right? So you want to avoid this. You want to have your story well planned, following the guidelines that Ms. Nyla has laid out for you so wonderfully in all of those sessions on creative writing, going all the way back to the beginning of our first season. So I implore you to go to our YouTube channel, see results, and to look at those videos on creative writing, as well as rewatch those from this home stretch bit of episodes that we have been doing, where she's been recapping some of the stuff in both narrative and expository writing. Now on to those two stories that I was mentioning, and there's particular reason why I wanted to highlight them, and I'll show you why just now as we begin to read, right? So I remember it as if it was yesterday. Okay, so this really should be as if it were yesterday. It was my 11th birthday and I hadn't received any presents, not even a single card. Dark clouds loomed over my head all day, and at that point, I was on the brink of tears. Just then, my mom brought out my cake. After the traditional happy birthday song was sung, my mom insisted I make a wish. I was already so gloomy and depressed, so I half-heartedly blew out the candles. I was already so gloomy and depressed that I half-heartedly blew out the candles and whispered, I wish I could attend Hogwarts. All right, so notice there, that would have been a better word to use in that situation. Good? Ever since I first read the Harry Potter series, my one wish was to attend Hogwarts, the best school for witchcraft and wizardry, and visit the magical wizarding world. Sadly, this would never happen since all these stories were fictional and magic was not real. Suddenly, as if by magic, the window flew open and a large owl with lamp-like eyes swooped in. My eyes lit up as I noticed it was carrying a parchment envelope with the Hogwarts crest on it. I couldn't believe my eyes. I even pinched myself. I stood and stared. Were my eyes deceiving me? I looked again. I wasn't dreaming. And we see here that those sentences that were supposed to have been included, they were included here in context in a very clever way. I soared to the realm of the seventh heaven, right? My wishes were coming true. Anxiously, I peeled the wax seal off the envelope and found my letter. Just then, as I removed the letter, my body was no longer at home, but in some weird dark tunnel. My arms and legs flailed, twisting and bending in strange angles. Before I knew it, I was in the great hall. Excitement crowned my soul as I admired the most majestic decorations which beautified the hall. The aroma of mouth-watering food filled my nostrils as I stared at the ceiling, which was enchanted to look at, like the sky outside. It was the most breathtaking view I had ever seen. Quickly, I sat at one of the tables. Soon enough, I made many friends and felt right at home. It was the most incredible day of my life. For the next 7 years at the institution, I went on many exciting adventures and learned magic. I even made the Quidditch team. But the most important lesson I learned was that wishes do come true, and this was by Amara Mohammed. All right, so I know, of course, many of you, being the phenomenon that the Harry Potter book series was, and probably continues to be, I'm sure that it continues to be, as a matter of fact. You might be marveling at this if you are a fan of the series, all right? Even some parents might be fans, but it's there in the popular culture, and this student was able to take elements of that world that the author, J.K. Rowling, has created and put a different spin on it, all right? So this person is writing here, imagining herself on her 11th birthday, knowing what she knows about Hogwarts. She's there in a setting that is presumably in our regular world, all right, in our regular universe. And, she's sad because she really wished that she could go to Hogwarts. And then all of a sudden, things start to unfold very much like in the Harry Potter, the first novel in the series. Now, the reason that I wanted to highlight this, all right, although, yes, it might be a bit derivative of that particular novel, it still has some unique elements in it, and it was executed very well. It wasn't just a straight ripoff. And it shows that this child is a reader, and that is the point that I wanted to drive home, all right? Whether you are a fan of this series or not, it doesn't matter really. That's not what I'm talking about here right now. I'm not trying to make anybody become a fan of anything, but it shows that this child, Amara Mohammed, is versed in this series, in the lore that surrounds it, and she is able to use from that setting, right, and produce it in a manner that, even somebody that probably isn't aware of the series would still be able to follow along with. And it was interesting, all right? You would probably not think going into the story that you're going to be reading somebody standing still and staring, thinking that their eyes are deceiving them, because they've ended up in a magical world that exists out there in literature already, all right? So that was pretty unique, and that is the reason why I chose to read it today. And again, one of the key takeaways from this piece of writing is to read. Kids, I have said it many times on the program before, if you would like to improve your writing, right, improve your skill set, the best way to do it is to read, and read frequently, read extensively, read all sorts of things, all right? Read fiction and nonfiction. You're going to get in the fiction, different types of figurative language, different types of descriptive language, and in the nonfiction, of course, you're going to gain knowledge about all different types of topics, right? That is just going to increase your general knowledge and, develop you and develop your mind as a young person. And of course, you can then come and produce something like this, which was, very well done. And, just a testament to the fact that reading will improve your writing, right? It will give you ideas and inspiration, sometimes which you may use, and it might not be so obvious, as in this case, where specifically the inspiration came from, because the writer wanted us to know where the inspiration came from in this case. But in some cases, you might be able to write, very profoundly, using inspiration from other great works of art, all right? So well done, Amara Mohammed. I think I may have read from your work in the recent past, but because of how much this reflected the point that I'm making about reading all the time, I had to read this one, right? So let's look at another piece here that I was impressed by, and I'll tell you why again. I remember that day as if this should be yesterday, right? It was a cool, breezy Saturday afternoon, a perfect day to play football. That serene afternoon, I stayed at my aunt's house for a sleepover with my cousins. The sun shone in all its luminosity as fleecy, white clouds wandered indolently across the azure sky In the backyard, the green grass beckoned invitingly. So you're seeing a lot of figurative and descriptive language here executed very well, a lot of advanced vocabulary, right, used in the correct manner, in the right context, and so on. So far, so good. As we played football, my Aunt Sarah brought us all some freshly baked cookies to take a rest. While we delighted on our cookies, Aunt Sarah told us some spooky stories. Oh, how the story about Dwens gave me the chills. However, my fear slowly disintegrated as Jack, my oldest cousin, announced that we were all right, so I'm just going to take a break there for a moment, and we'll be right back to continue with the story. Don't go anywhere.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors, and roti makers. Try our high-quality, unbleached, bromate-free, all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg, and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited, 665-3336, or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Good evening, assalamu alaikum, and we do apologize for that slight technical difficulty there, and we're going to continue with our story now, right? So, however, my fear slowly disintegrated as Jack, my oldest cousin, announced that we were going to continue the best game on earth. Huh? That's strange. The ball's missing. Jack was in a confused state. How do you mean? I inquired. Didn't you have it last? Instantly, we all searched frantically like headless chickens for the ball. As we were about to give up, I began to hear giggles emanating from a nearby forest, and curiosity filled me to the brim. I decided that I would search in the forest. Night fell like a blanket over the earth, and it was getting dark. Fear had entirely engulfed me as the laughter gradually got louder and darkness crept in like a criminal. All right, so the personification there of darkness. Very well done. Suddenly, 2 glowing creatures appeared and were playing with the ball. Fear grabbed hold of my throat when both heads turned towards me, followed by their bodies. It was children. This really should be they were children, right? Come play with us, our friend. Both children repeated like the doll from Annabelle. Reference here to a movie that probably a primary school age child should not be watching, but a correct reference anyway. Give me the ball. I have to go home, I instructed with fear in my voice. Both children bolted towards me and extended their hands with the football. As I removed it from their hands, their feet turned around. "Sorry, but you are not going anywhere," they taunted, grabbing hold of my hands. I stood still and stared. Were my eyes deceiving me? I looked again. I wasn't dreaming. Instantaneously, fear lent wings to my feet, right? Wonderful use of language there. I threw the ball at them, buying time to escape from their clutches. "Kabir, Kabir, where are you?" A familiar voice resounded, piercing my eardrums. Without a second to lose, I hurried towards the voice, hoping against hope that it was not another trick. It was Aunt Sarah. I embraced and hugged her, desperate for safety. The giggling was no longer heard. "Kabir, are you okay?" Aunt Sarah asked. "Yes, I'm fine," trying to catch my breath. I lied, trying to catch my breath because it was not fine, right? On our return journey to Aunt Sarah's home, giggling was heard once again. However, I ignored it. Aunt Sarah winked at me. Did she hear it too? I didn't want to even say the word duens, so it was pointless to even ask. Although I am older now, I would never forget that most mesmerizing day. In addition, I learned a valuable lesson. When seeking out in a forest, always be on the lookout for duens and never let them fool you. And this was wonderfully, wonderfully done by Kabir Ali. All right, so we only have about a minute, so I'm going to try to make this as brief as possible. So the reason, and please come back to me, guys. The reason that I really liked this piece so much is because of how Kabir was able to draw on our folklore tradition here in Trinidad and Tobago and to use those characters from the folklore, you know, in a very engaging way. And all the other elements of the story were in place. He used the lines from the story, excellent use of descriptive and figurative language. And again, it was a little bit out of the box, something that we like to see, originality in your writing. And I think that it was wonderfully executed. So again, two things to note from the last two. You know, just reading in general will improve your writing. And of course, you know, learning more about your culture and about, you know, history and folklore and so on, you will get all sorts of characters and all sorts of items that you can include in your writing. So well done to all of our writers who submitted, and we'll continue reading your stories on Thursday, God willing. Thank you so much for watching. I have been Sir Ijaz. Do enjoy the rest of your evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.